Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the 2,000 subscriber milestone Q&A. I have a few more questions that you guys have provided for me, so I will be answering those off real quick. And, well, I've got more footage of me making thumbnails from Senran Kagura. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying these kind of things. I know they're not exactly the most exciting thing to watch, but I always find them kind of fun, being able to work on them, and honestly, the diorama mode is actually pretty fun. So I can't complain too much there. So anyway, on to the first question of this episode. Zaz2 writes, any tips for surviving university and college? I guess for 6.5 years you'd think I'd have some. The first thing I will say right off the bat is everyone's college experience is completely different from mine. I can give general ideas, but how you go about handling, those years in college or however many years you spend there is really how you go at it. So I guess the easiest thing for me to do would just give the general advice that I can think of. The first one I would definitely say is college is a kind of scenario where you get out of it how much you put into it. So if you're in a field that's very heavy in a lot of science, a lot of number crunching, you might not be able to do much about it besides just practicing, math problems or doing whatever you need to kind of, solidify the concepts and all the topics that are, of the discussion for the thing. If you're in a field like mine with programming, then you have the capability to sit there and, practice every possible concept, try new things, experiment, kind of get a better idea as to what you can learn, and not just that, but also solidifying the concepts that you're learning in class as well as all that stuff. Because if you can do all that, then man, it will just help you later on down the road. So it's really, it comes down to how much are you willing to put into college. I think is what really matters. There is the infamous saying that I've heard a lot at my university, which was D's get degrees. And while I guess that kind of can be true, I'm not exactly sure how each college goes about handling, minimum grade needed to pass. But one thing I will say is, if you're not really trying in college, or you really don't want to try, then you really shouldn't be in it. And that's gonna be, a brutal truth, but it's something that I believe is very, very vital in understanding, mostly because you're spending, if you're in the US, college isn't exactly the cheapest thing. I think we all know this. We all hear the stories about it all the time. So it's honestly a waste of money if you don't really want to go and try to, maximize as much effort as you can, in the small period of, 3-4 years, maybe more, depending on what kind of degree you're going after. But that's really the point I wanted to make here is if you're going to put in a lot of effort, then that will just continue to help you out later on down the road. I was a very studious person. I worked a lot, probably more than a lot of people. There was a lot of times where I'll sit there and I'll be programming or doing an entire project for 2-3 days straight, and just trying to experiment and just trying to make sure I understand the concepts. And that much time that was spent, sure, I lost a lot of my own free time. I had a lot of stress build up, all the downsides that come from that. But when it came down to it afterwards, I really understood the concept, and I was able to literally explain it word for word how to do everything involving with it. So one such example was like data structures for computer programmers. When you're new to that kind of thing, it does seem very, very complex and can be a little bit tedious, but one of the things that I really do enjoy now is because of how much I spent, how much time I spent just kind of practicing everything with that particular topic, I understand, if I needed to build it real quickly for a custom version of one of those data structures, I can go in and just immediately program everything I need in it, and it will have the same functionality as the standard version, but all the custom things that I want. So having all of that knowledge and understanding is beneficial when you're really spending as much time as you can in a particular major. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest things to take advantage of is, yeah, you have 4 years, but make the most of it as much as you can. Now, I'm not saying that you should, not have a social life. All work, no play makes someone a dull boy, so, yeah, as that, saying goes. So I'm not going to say, work your heart out and don't have a social life for 4 years. That's the last thing I want you to do. One of the things that I will also say, this is probably going into my second point, is you have a lot of time in college. Some of us are used to high school where you'll be in school for 7-8 hours a day, and then you have the rest of the evening to do homework, relax, do whatever you want to do, watch your favorite show. I don't know. College is not like that at all. You've got maybe one day you'll have 3 classes for about 5 hours total, and another day you'll have one for like an hour and 15 minutes. And then the rest of the day is whatever you want to do with it. You have a lot of time on your hands. Now, while I would say, again, from the first point, take advantage of your time in terms of making sure you understand your stuff, understand what you're doing, and understand the topics that your professors are teaching you. But at the same time, don't spend all of your time doing that. You will stress yourself out way too much, and there's a lot of problems with a lot of stress. You get sick, you put on a lot of weight. There's all those downsides. So what I would say is, one of the things that is very huge is finding that right balance. You want to find a perfect balance between, how studious you can be for school and maintain, overall good grades, and at the same time have a good amount of free time that, you can keep yourself low stress, maybe try out a club or two, find something that you like. My specific club that I really liked doing when I was in college was comedy and improv, or comedy sports, I think is what they actually called it. So yeah, finding that perfect balance between studying, getting all the stuff you need for school, and then just having your own time is really crucial. That own time could be anything from hanging out with friends, doing a club, maybe all of us here are gamers, so I'm not gonna be surprised by this. Finding a new game that you like and wanting to play through that. Finding that perfect balance is huge, and if you can do that as early as the earlier you can do that, the better college gets and the easier things will be for you in the long run. Now, there will be times, I'll be honest, especially when you get towards the end of college, like your 300, 400 level courses, as most of us would probably refer to them as, where the topics are just so complex in nature that you might have to spend a lot more time than you'd want just to understand them, and that's something that is normal. You are a student. Take full advantage of the fact that, you have basically this free pass at, I don't know what I'm doing, help me, or let me try to see if I can figure out what I'm doing. And, take advantage of that by, talking to professors, looking at forums, just reading what other people have discovered, that kind of stuff, just to kind of help you get better at the overall goal. That goes back to, like I said, the first 2 points, or mostly the first one and the second one, but all those things are going to come into play, and those are things that it can be complex, I guess, in itself. I guess it could be kind of a little bit of a challenge. I want to say, though, it took me about, I want to say 2 years out of my 6.5 before I finally got into a groove of finding, what's the perfect balance between being studious and, taking my time off, playing whatever games I wanted to. During the last year and a half of college, obviously I picked up doing YouTube as my hobby, mostly because I didn't have a club to work with, unfortunately. So yeah, it's really about finding that perfect balance, as I'll always say. Last but not least, college really is, I think the best way to put it, isn't like the next step into being, going into your future. It's honestly, in my opinion, the last chance you'll get to really see that if this particular path you want to take is what you want to do. If you start off as, as a guy that's very heavy in mathematics, and you think, oh, I want to do something in mathematics, and then later on you find that's not what you want to do, that's kind of where college comes into play, because it'll show you, are you really, really wanting to commit to this? And I think that's kind of something that's huge, is being able to see that as how college really is. For me, I started off as a chemistry major. I enjoyed it for the most part. I always did like how, I could take something, mix a bunch of other, solutions and whatnot into a compound, and then, or not to, into this beaker, and then just watch it change. Color might change. Some other reaction might happen. That was cool to me. And I thought, I might look into chemistry. And then I started, college, and really, I just didn't like it as much as I did. That was something that was huge for me, because I realized right then and there is like that its chemistry wasn't what I wanted to do. And so that's what made me switch into computer science and computer animation, since those were two things that I really did enjoy doing. And, well, that was basically the major turning point for me, was realizing that's not, I do like the sciences, but I didn't like chemistry as much as I thought I did. So I ended up moving into, something that was still within my own strengths, but it was something I enjoyed a lot more. And that's really where I am now, is programming, in a nutshell to me, is a lot more problem solving. It's a lot of, like, how you guys, like, any puzzle, you look at it and you're like trying to figure out how to solve it, and then each time you figure out how to do it differently, you've learned this whole algorithm, or this whole series of steps you take to solve the problem. That is something that I think is fun, because really that's how I look at programming. A lot of concepts, a lot of real life problems are just these puzzles. How do you go about solving them? How do you go about figuring out the solution to them? That's really where the overall fun is for me, is finding how to work around that puzzle, how to solve it. And that's kind of something that really showed me that this is the path I want to take in college. So I think those are the three major tips I would say. Obviously there's the generic ones that you guys will always hear, get involved in your university, join a club, join a brigade, like a theater brigade, or whatever they call it. Go to all the school events, there's a lot of things that you could do just to get involved on campus, and if you want to do that, that's up to you. So, like I said, everyone's college experience is very different. There are some generic, things that people do have similarities in with each particular person, but everyone's overall experience is very different. So the only thing I can really say is those three things outside of the generics. So hopefully that helps you, Zaz. I hope you enjoy college, man. Good luck. It was definitely an interesting experience for me. All right, on to the next one. Sticky quote. So the question from the stick. You called yourself Stickter. Sticky, please. Anyway, any regrets? Things you wish you could have done by now for your channel? Ooh, that's a good one. Honestly, like, that's really a good question. I can't think of really that many. I can think of one right off the bat, but I can't think of any yet. I think that's probably a good thing, but I'm sure that I'll have more of those appear over time. I think the one that I definitely would say is, I'm not a fan of dropping something, like whether it's an anime or a game. I'm usually a guy that's just there for the entertainment value of it, and that's generally what it is. I think some of you probably know where this is going. There is a Neptunia game called Hyper Devotion Noir. I honestly really enjoyed playing the game. It was a lot of fun. Sure, it was challenging, but that's the thing about turn-based strategy games, or even RTS games in general, is, I mean, this game isn't RTS, but you get the point. Is that there is this degree of difficulty, and once you get past that, you start thinking differently about each turn that you take. And that's something that, a lot of people notice in XCOM, especially the people that play in the higher difficulties. There's this whole series of thought processes that goes behind those games. But anyway, with Hyper Devotion, I was really enjoying the game. It was fun, but I think probably the biggest regret I have is probably the fact that I've had to drop it. And as much as I do want to go back and play it, I can't bring myself to go do that. For those of you that don't know, I'm at the final boss of the entire game. Now, most people would be like, that's really the big moment, the point where, that's where the game really concludes, so you really should see the ending. The problem with that game was how poorly designed the boss fight was. And it really showed, to the point where, I just wasn't having fun with it. And I didn't want to continue, so that's why I dropped it. And while I do regret the fact that I did that, it's still one of those scenarios where it's like, I as much as I regret doing it, I don't want to go back and do it. But it's just it's not so much of regret that I want to the point where I want to go do something. It's regret more to the point where I had to do it, and I don't want to go back and fix that. If you guys get what I mean. So that's probably one of the bigger regrets I have right now. I should probably extrapolate a little bit here and explain a little bit more why I didn't like that. So the boss fight, the boss of course has really high stats. But the thing that was really annoying was no matter what attack I did to them, it was always 1 damage. Whether it was the ultimate move that they had or just a standard attack, it was always 1 damage. I might get lucky and maybe an attack multi-hits, so I might get 2 or 3 or 4 points of damage, which that alone sounds pretty tedious. And then you realize that the boss has 9,999 health, which means that assuming I'd hit, I have 6 characters in the game total, so I'd be sitting there doing about 6 damage per turn, which when you look at 9,999, you can already see how nasty the amount of turns it will take just to get that health down to 0. That's mostly the reason why I didn't want to deal with that. Also, probably the fact that even though I did 1 damage to the boss, she could potentially 1-hit KO a multiple group of my people, so reducing my overall DPS per turn, or damage per turn, I guess, not DPS. So that was kind of the reason why I dropped it. But yeah, like I said, I think the biggest regret right now is the fact that I've had to drop a game, and as much as I want to go back and finish it, at the same time I don't want to because of just how the game's final boss was designed. So that's probably the biggest regret I have right now. So, other than that, I can't think of another one yet. And I want to say that's a good thing. But I know it's going to eventually happen where I'm going to have another one. And, when that happens, yeah, it'll happen. But until then, que sera, sera, as I say. Alright, next question. Abichan for the win. Best game of all time. So I am working on a, well, I can't say I'm working on it now, but I will be working on it when I get back. And that is a top 5 games of all time for me video that you guys, well, I was originally going to do that for the 1000, and since I didn't get time to get it out, I'm going to work on it when I get back. So there's that. I will go ahead and kind of quickly talk about that, I guess. I won't say, I won't go into too much detail since I'll save that for the actual video, but I think a lot of you probably, or at least the ones that have been around for a really long time, know what game it is, and I'll briefly talk about why. So, the game that I consider, or at least the game series that I consider best of all time, is the Command & Conquer series. Command & Conquer is an RTS game series that was released from the early 90s all the way up to, I want to believe the last one was in the early 2010s. So it's been a series that's been around for a long time, and it's actually been in my family for quite some time. I actually first started off Command & Conquer, or at least my overall experience with Command & Conquer, as a 5-year-old kid who sat next to my dad in his office while I basically just watched him play it. That was a majority of what my younger years experience was with the game. I was watching my dad, play through the story mode, play through, a skirmish game, or whatever he wanted to do, and I just sit there and watch him and just kind of point out a few things. My dad and I have a few jokes. He still laughs at what I used to call some of the specific units in the game, and oh man, it was funny back then. So, but around the early 2000s, I actually started playing the game for myself, and it became basically the rest of my childhood growing up. I went through, all the games from Tiberian Sun. I did play Red Alert 1 and Tiberian Dawn, but I started really at Tiberian Sun and worked my way up all the way until the last game in its generation. So yeah, it's been a huge part of my childhood. It was a game I really enjoyed playing, both single player and online. I haven't been able to play online in a long time, and that kind of bums me out, but I'm not gonna really get back into it. I don't feel like I'm fine with playing like single player and just comp stomping with my friends that I play now with. So, but yeah, like I spent so many hours just simply playing that series. Like, I've gone back, I don't even know how many times I've replayed each campaign of every game. I want to believe it's easily in the double digits for some of the games, whereas some are closing in on the double digits. It's been that much fun for me to go back and play them. Sure, every game was very different, and some of them were better than the others. I could go into detail about that, but I'll say that for another time. But it was just that, you know, this game series was just so involved in my childhood, starting from when I was, you know, a 4 or 5 year old kid, going up all the way to now. You know, I still play 2 or 3 of the games because they are a lot of fun to play, and it's, you know, they've got a lot of nice things to them. But I also still don't mind going back and playing the games from, you know, the 90s and early 2000s because they were fun. I enjoyed playing them, and that is really the reason why, you know, if I had to pick any game out of all the games I've ever played, Command & Conquer is going to be the big winner in terms of, well, being that best game of all time. So hopefully that is the answer you were looking for, Abby. So yeah, but I will save the rest of the top 5 and go actually a bit more in detail about Command & Conquer in that top 5 video. That'll come out way later on, so don't worry about it. Anyway, next question. Next one is, whoa, Regro. On to the second question. Can you make a song out of your body? No. Regro, where do you get these ideas? Regro, what do you? You know, I had a buddy of mine actually pick this one out for me, and I didn't actually pay attention to what was in the question, so. Probably not, though. I'm not that great with audio work. I can do basic, like, tweaks. I can also, you know, figure out timing on when I want certain things to play. Like, I did that with the Waifu Lane video. I did a lot of audio editing, just so that way I could have specific voice lines play when I wanted them, but I also didn't want the full voice line, so I chopped that out. That's the probably extent of my audio editing capability. So if I could I make a song out of Hibari noises? Probably not. Also, I don't think it'd be that easy to get the audio files for Hibari. So, so yeah, I don't think I'll try that. All right, Brother Captain Warhammer. Oh my, that's a paragraph. Answer all or any of the 4 of them. Okay. Alright, I remember this one now. So, I'll go ahead and quickly say, to quickly answer number 2, I'm not familiar with really any ships in World War II. I'm not very big on naval history, so I can't really say that one. 1 and 3 I'll answer, but give me 1 second here. So, for number 1, of all the ship girls in Osler Lane, who are your favorites? 1 or 2 from each type. I did mention this actually a while back ago on a stream, quickly listing off maybe 1 or 2 of them. So, I guess one thing I will definitely say is well, my overall list constantly changes, mostly because Yostar adds a lot of new ships every event or so. Well, not really a lot. They add like 1 or 2, unless it's like a major event like right now where there's like, what, 9? I want to say there's 9, 10. I don't know the actual number, but you know what I mean. Anyway, that list does change, so I guess it's worth going ahead and mentioning them here. So, of the destroyers, Laffy is still a very, very high pick. I'm a bit biased towards her because she is the starter ship I had, also because she's Bun Bun. Everyone knows this. I'm trying to think, is there any other destroyer that I'm honestly really fond? I guess if I had to pick another destroyer, probably Shiranui. Ayanami's not bad, but I honestly like Shiranui a bit more than Ayanami, which I feel like a lot of people are going to be like giving me like death stares for. I'm sorry. I guess it just means one less person to fight over the Ayanami waifu, I guess. So, alright, on to light cruisers. There are 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. Both of them are now Oath, and you probably already know both of them. or at least the majority of you do. That is San Diego, because she makes me crack up every single time I see her. Like, she's one of the few ships that when I see her drop as a build, it puts a smile on my face just because of how goofy she is. Like, the overall, like, joke around her, how silly her overall demeanor and personality is. All of that comes together to make me just kind of, like, laugh because of how funny she is. The second one is Cleveland. I think a lot of people don't. I don't really need to explain why Cleveland. She's absolutely adorable. She's a reliable. I love the personality she has of, like, the older sister kind of you know, that again, the reliable bit of her comes in a lot. And you know, as soon as they got her an oath skin, I was contemplating it significantly. And now that I've done that and given her one of the oath rings that I have, I actually do. I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. Her voice lines are absolutely adorable from her oath skin. So, yeah. Alright, heavy cruiser. There are two I can think off the top of my head as well. The first one being one that I use very often. She's a really, really good ship stat-wise, but at the same time, I kind of do like the way that her personality has changed a bit as her affection grows. And that was Minneapolis. Or the Hunter, as I think some of you have nicknamed her. But yeah, like I said, her overall personality, watching it change as the affection goes up, I think it's something that's really worth mentioning. And that's part of the reason why I do like her, is how her personality shifts. I do like her for how effective she is as well. So I guess it's a win-win in a lot of scenarios there. The other heavy cruiser is Furutaka. She's probably one of the most chill ship girls I've ever really met, at least in the game, because she's, I mean, obviously she joins Laffy in being the sleepy character, but she's also, like, if you actually have her at that highest level of affection outside of oathing, she's, like, so laid back. She's like, if you want to try, sure. I don't know, I like her laid back personality. It reminds me a lot of myself, because I'll be honest, I am very laid back. A lot of people even have called me out on that, and I think that's something that's funny. So, yeah, that's definitely the reason why Furutaka is there. Battleships and battleship cruisers. I'll do cruisers first. Obviously, there is one. Actually, there's two now. I think about it, because before there was just one, and I'm thinking about the second one now. The first one is Repulse. You guys probably already all knew this one. I mentioned that in the last video. That is one of my favorite characters. She's adorable. Her lines are cute. You know, I can't handle a laugh she has when she MVPs. It's absolutely, like, the cutest thing. And the second ship is Amagi. Her overall personality is something I did like about it. It is a bummer that, you know, the story depicted her the way that she is, and just how the story goes down in general for her. But I really do like that kind of personality she has, so that really was a charm point for her. As weird as it is talking about, you know, ships. Anyway, moving on to battleships. There is one off the top of my head that I can think of, and I think you already all know this one, and that is Yamashiro. If you guys did know this one, I'd be kind of surprised, honestly. So, it's worth mentioning that, though. So, but yes, Yamashiro, she's cute. God, I think I realized I have all of her skins, but at the same time, it's like her lines are funny. She's got a really, really overall cute design. I mean, oh my gosh, like half the skins she's got are just absolutely adorable. I think that's really all the reason I have, is she's just absolutely adorable. Alright, now onto the carriers. Now there again, two separate categories here, standard carrier and the light carrier. Two light carriers I can think off the top of my head. The first one is Long Island. Being, well, again, the light carrier I started with, I kind of got a little attached to the starter fleet. Also, she's just funny. And also I can relate to her little shut-in personality a little bit. I'm a bit introverted, so it does fit. So yeah, that's definitely one of them. The second one is Soho, the healer light carrier. she's really reliable as a ship in terms of overall combat, but she's also one of those characters whose lines are pretty funny. She's constantly wanting to talk about how she's growing up and all that stuff, and it's just funny that she's so like focused on it. So those are probably the two light carriers I can think of. So going into the next group, which is the standard carriers. Really, I don't think I have two. I have one for sure. And that is Illustrious. She's absolutely funny. Some of the lines she says are, they just crack me up. I mean, Soft Landing. There's Lenny faces for like every single time that's said. I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm gonna say it right now. Someone's probably gonna put a Lenny face in the comments after hearing Soft Landing. Or you're just gonna put it in the comments because I said so. So I'm gonna call you. Whoever does that, I'm calling you out right now. So, but yeah, I don't think I have another carrier right now. I'm not as big of a fan of Enterprise, honestly, as some people are. I mean, it's not because, I don't want to be a person who likes the meta. I clearly already got that wrong. So, anyway, I think that's really all the ones I could pick out of the group right now. I know there's going to be new classes they're going to add in with the submarines. And I guess I could have talked about the monitors, but there's only two of them, and I haven't really used either of them, so I can't really say anything about them. So, alright, and the third question is, if I were to build a warship of my own, what would it look like? What are its armaments? What's her role? The thing about Ozzer Lane is they're focused heavily on historical accuracy. If I were to add a character into the game, it'd be hard because, one, they want to have a ship that's tied to an existing one, and at the same time, the thing I like about it is everything that's about that ship, their overall stats, their skills, is tied around, how they were in history, and that is something that's really amazing, honestly. As for my design, I think I'd probably go with one of the ones that exist in the modern day era, as like a maybe you could spin off the story being like a few ships from the future travel back in time or whatever, or appear in the simulations by some means necessarily, or whatever the storyline would be for that. And it would be one of those that's futuristic. As for armaments, I'd probably say maybe some of the prototype weaponry that exists in ships nowadays would be kind of interesting. Although, it's not like, I mean, if we were to go off of balancing, it wouldn't be ridiculously overpowered, but the guns would be unique enough that people would be able to identify that, oh, that's one of the future tech guns or something. I know there is a railgun armament that's been talked about a lot in some of the ships, or at least maybe one ship that's got it, so that would be kind of an interesting thing. As for her role, honestly, and this is more of just what I would like to see. Like, this is less so of how I would design it, more like something I would like to see as a ship in Ozzer Lane. Having a frontliner that could either support maybe the backline more. Like, we have ships that have like the cover, or flagship cover, like reduced damage for your flagship. I think one that would work, that could like basically buff the buff another stat for the overall fleet would be interesting. Not necessarily just the main fleet, but like the whole fleet. Something like what Amagi does. Well, Amagi doesn't really do that. Queen Elizabeth with HMS, if the whole fleet's HMS. So, yeah, I think that's all I can really say. I need to think about that really a lot more. But I think it's mostly because I don't really think to add ships into Ozzer Lane. There's a lot of features that I think I would like to see implemented. I could probably make a whole video about that, honestly. That'd be kind of a cool thing too. And then we can have like our own like little discussion chat group about it. I don't know. So, but yeah, I think that's what I would roughly have, a futuristic-y kind of ship, but at the same time, one that's more focused on support rather than aggression. Because that's the way I usually am. I like to play things from a backline and be like the support type of character rather than the aggressor. I don't mind playing an aggressor, but it's not generally my main interest. So, alright, on to the next question. Zakram. Oh, that's a lot of them. First one. Since I wasn't on your first stream, how was it for you? Was it nervous because of unknown people, or just nah? Or just nah? It was pretty nervous. At least I was pretty nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I literally had nobody at that time. When I first had that, when I had that first stream, I think I had maybe 3-4 people. One of them I knew personally, and the other 2 I've just been talking to a lot lately. So it was not really like a bunch of people that came from nowhere, kind of like how it is now, where you know, there was a bunch of new people and I got to interact with them. No, it was mostly people that I kind of knew already. So I wasn't too nervous, but I was nervous in the sense that, you know, was this going to be a good stream? Was I going to see, you know, any benefit out of this? Was it going to be weird? I don't know. And that was something that really, really bothered me a little bit because I didn't know what to expect. Like I had said in my previous video, I had already done 2 major attempts at YouTube, and both of those attempts basically fell flat. So it was a little, it was a little rough. So second question, your first anime in your life. I think that was Pokemon. I think I mentioned that in the first video, I think. So, and question number 3, how is it become a famous? All right. Honestly, it's, I don't even think I'm really that, I can't really consider myself famous. I'm still getting used to the fact that occasionally when I log into Ozzy Lane, whether it be through the Ozzy Lane's game chat or the Discord, I'm called out as, you know, the YouTuber. It's something that I'm still not able to get used to. It's a weird feeling, honestly. But in the end, it's not a major goal for me. I'm not interested in, you know, making it big on YouTube. I mostly am doing it for fun. It's been a fun time to do this for about almost 2 years, getting close to 2 years actually now. Now that I think about it, my goodness, we're almost to, yeah, I'm 3 months away from 2 years. Holy crap. But yeah, being famous isn't really something I am interested really in. I don't mind, but it's not something I'm aiming for. I could care less really about my growth. Sure, I don't mind it. You know, as I always say, the more the merrier, but it's still one of those things where it's just like, you know, as long as people are happy and what I'm, you know, the content I create is, you know, enjoying, you know, something they can enjoy, that's really all I care for. You know, it's the way that I generally go about handling my own YouTube, and that's really what I'd like to keep it like. You know, I don't want to treat YouTube as a business. I don't want to, you know, be like a lot of other channels that I've seen die out where they try to be so business oriented, and it just kind of changes their overall demeanor towards how they basically go about doing everything on YouTube. I think that's something that I would like to avoid because that will bring about a change I don't think I'd want, and I don't think anyone else would want. So, all right, on to the next question. I think I've got maybe 1 or 2 more. Oh, this is the last one. Okay, so how did I meet Kobe? I'm assuming you mean Kobe-kun, because Kobe, I don't think... Do we have a... I mean, we have a Corey, but I don't think we have a Kobe. We do have Kobe-kun. That's an interesting story in itself. So, my immediate gaming circle of friends that I play with a lot nowadays is Ogzork, Luckily Cursed, and Kobe-kun. You've at least seen all 3 of them at least once in a video. Kobe has been in a few of my videos, probably more of my streams than videos, honestly. Luckily Cursed has been in the Dead Rising 2 playthrough, but we both got too busy to really continue that. And then Ogzork has been in a few of my streams, maybe with Kobe, maybe without Kobe. Definitely for sure in some of the Team Fortress 2 ones. So you've met those 3, but really what it came down to is, again, Team Fortress 2. I started playing Team Fortress 2 on the PC, I think around 2011. I met Luckily Cursed, and you know, we were friends for that initial bit, and then we ran into another guy that introduced me to Kobe. And then from Kobe, I met Ogzork. So it was kind of this, you know, from this person I met this person, from this person I met this person. It was this series of people that I was introduced to. And that was kind of something that I had to thank Team Fortress 2 for. These guys I've been friends with since probably, yeah, around 2011. I mean, it's almost been 9 years. We're going into 8-9 years of our just being buds. So I don't regret it. So I've been able to really hang out with them much because I've been busy with juggling YouTube and my job. But, you know, it was nice being able to meet them back then, and in fact, I'm actually kind of still happy that I'm friends with them, so that's really how I met all 3 of them, in all honesty. I kind of gave you a bit more than probably what you were wanting. So, but yeah, I met them all through Team Fortress 2, and we've just been friends for ever since then. We actually all did play in that competitive team together, which was interesting. We've played through a lot of games, a lot of good games, and a lot of bad games, so it's definitely interesting. It's been an interesting 8-9 years for us now. So, all right, that'll be it for all the questions. I don't think I have any more. This was a bit longer than I honestly thought it was. Then again, I do ramble on a little bit, so hopefully it's not too boring. So I believe that'll be all the questions I have for the Q&A session. So, well, thanks again, guys, for the 2,000 subs. I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me. I know I could continue and say the same thing over and over again. And I really do want to stress that I am very thankful for that you guys are all, you know, enjoying the content that I create for you all. But, oh man, I look forward to what is in store for us in the future. So, thanks again, guys, so much for watching. Thanks again for all the support you guys have given me, and I will see you in the next video that I do. Until then, I'll catch you guys all again very soon.